you moved to another city in the last 5 years? What city was it, and are you happy with the move? This was a question I asked in a survey earlier this year. I received over 4,700 responses and had an optional section for people to leave comments about their move. About 31% of the respondents left comments. Now, here's where it gets weird. Over half those comments were from people I think don't know how to read because they left comments about how they hate where they moved. It's like, I clearly asked, are you happy with the move? Maybe they're just having flashbacks from the other poll that I had where I asked if you regretted moving to a city. This is the 4th video in this series. I did the states, and now this is the cities. Like I said in the state version of this video, people are different and these surveys are based on opinions. It's not math. There's no single definitive answer. And again, honestly, that's my favorite part about being a human being. We are all different with many opinions and different experiences, and that's okay. Just because you and all your friends at the mobile home park hate Seattle doesn't mean everyone else does. Now, even though I have never in the title, all of us normal thinking adults understand that that's just a title that sounds better than 10 cities a bunch of people said they don't regret moving to most days. Just like the states people never regret moving to video, I will list the cities with the most votes and the reasons that seem to pop up the most. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Raleigh Durham, North Carolina. If you haven't heard, Raleigh Durham, North Carolina has gotten pretty popular over the last decade or so, I would say, especially with millennials and Generation Z. They've got a lot of educated, young, friendly people living in Raleigh Durham. They got a lot of research jobs, a lot of tech jobs, and a lot of microbrew places to enjoy your weekend at. Raleigh Durham has a lot of parks, a great music scene, and like a festival every weekend, it seems like. Now, there are areas that can get pretty expensive for North Carolina. If it was California, you'd be, oh, that's really cheap. But for North Carolina, they do have some pretty expensive places to live in this area. But they still do have some affordable places. All those things together is why people never regret moving to Raleigh Durham. The most common theme was great jobs. That's what almost everyone said is why they love it there. Number 9, Portland, Maine. Portland, Maine's one of those places that's getting popular, but it's still flying under the radar. They are like the complete opposite of Raleigh Durham. A lot of the people moving there are older people. A lot of retirees that don't mind cold weather decide to make Portland, Maine their final destination, as one guy put. Guys, I retired 10 years ago, and I was looking for a new town, and I decided Portland, Maine was my final destination. Portland is a great city with really low crime. It's beautiful, good people. Its big knock, though, is it gets terribly cold in the winter. Still, though, it's a great place to raise a family. It's not just for retirees. They do have a above average age for the city, though. That's all of Maine, really. And if you're worried about crime, this is a perfect place to move to. They do have crime, but nothing compared to just about any other city of this size in the United States. Their crime rate's actually 20% lower than the national average, which is like the exact opposite of bizarro Portland out in Oregon. One of the most common reasons people stated for moving to Portland, Maine was to be closer to nature. That's why a lot of people don't regret moving there. Number 8, Madison, Wisconsin. Madison, Wisconsin is a pretty nice place to live. They have plenty of things to do, their cost of living isn't terrible, their crime rate's pretty decent, they have jobs, and their housing isn't that bad. Their crime rate would be a lot better if they didn't have a college there. That's just this thing. College towns usually have a little bit higher of a crime rate. There's a few reasons for that. When you dig deep into the crimes that they have there, they're usually to do with, stupid crap college kids do, like drink and drive, bar fights. And then, of course, you have people that are there to take advantage of college kids. Their total crime rate here is like 12% above the national average, but their violent crime rate is like 20% below the national average. A lot of people move to Madison because it is a great place to raise a family, and that popped up quite often when people were talking about why they love Madison. The other thing popped up too, that they have pretty harsh winters also, so you gotta be cool with scraping ice off your window like 3 or 4 months a year. If you're from Wisconsin, Minnesota, or anywhere in that area, that's not a big deal to you. But if you're someone moving to a place like Madison from Arizona, Texas, Nevada, places like that, it sucks. I was from Southern California. I moved to Portland. We don't get snow that often, but having to scrape your window all the time, that sucks. Now, here's an interesting fact about Madison. Of the people that said they don't regret moving to Madison, Wisconsin, Madison got the most comments. People that moved there just love this place. Number 7, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Now, I used to live, outside Colorado Springs at a military base. I used to go in Colorado Springs all the time. One thing I know about the people of Colorado Springs, they love Colorado Springs. They're one of the first people to tell you not to move there because they like their city just the way it is. One thing they really like about it, almost everyone I ever talked to, they really like the fact that Denver's an hour away. They don't want to be associated with Denver unless they want to go in and see a Broncos game. Now, Colorado Springs does have a little bit of crime. The only reason I really bring it up for this one is its popularity doesn't seem to take a hit because of the crime rate. A lot of times when you have a place that has a crime rate that's over, like, let's say 25% above the national average, they'll take a hit. Theirs is about 65% above the national average, and they're still extremely popular. Most of the people that said they never regretted moving there talked about raising a family in Colorado Springs. Number 6, Sarasota, Florida. Look at that, Florida makes the list. When we did the states people regret moving to and the cities people regret moving to, there was a lot of hate directed towards Florida. And here's Sarasota coming in strong at number 6. Sarasota's on the Gulf side of Florida in between Tampa and Fort Myers, closer to Tampa. And a lot of people in the comments section of that survey said that they moved there to retire. I mean, almost every single person said they wanted to retire in Sarasota, and they did, and they do not regret it at all. A lot of people brought up how they still have reasonable real estate prices for a coastal town. When you look at the stats of Sarasota, nothing jumps out as horrible and nothing jumps out as great. It's just all kind of medium. One of the biggest crimes they have in Sarasota is elderly gentlemen at the beach in knee socks and Speedos. Number 5. Salt Lake City, Utah. Salt Lake City, Utah is a pretty decent place to live, and I've mentioned it recently when I did a video about Utah. The reality is Utah's one of the best states to move to right now. They do have some very strange people that email me and send me messages on Facebook every now and then, but it's still a decent place to live. One message I got recently, if I got what they were putting down properly, it was a little convoluted. They think people should quit moving to Salt Lake City. Instead, maybe move to Springville, down by Provo, especially if you're coming from California and you have a checkered past. I think that's what they were saying. But a lot of people like moving to Salt Lake City, and one of the number one reasons they give for never regretting moving there is it's a great place to raise a family. Number 4, Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, Dallas-Fort Worth is kind of an overlapping one in the one where people regret moving to. Plano, which is a suburb of Dallas, almost made that list. I think they were number 11. So just keep in mind, it's 2 different lists done at different times. Everyone has a different experience. Plano, though, is a great place to live. I just think it's getting a little too crowded and a little too expensive. Almost every single person that said they do not regret moving to Dallas-Fort Worth, it was because of jobs. They got a great job. They love the job. The housing market is getting a little more expensive, like every place, but they're not getting nearly as expensive as a lot of other popular cities, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, places like that. Their crime rate is doing pretty good too. They do have some crime. I mean, every city has some crime, but again, if you compare them to other major cities, they're doing really good. And that draws in a lot of people. And when those people get there, they don't want to leave because they never regret moving to Dallas. A couple other things that were mentioned about moving to Dallas and reasons they don't regret it is there's plenty of things to do. The people are decent. And one more thing. I didn't want to mention this, but it popped up a lot and I thought it was really strange. But there was quite a few comments saying that they moved there because they have really good-looking women. Like I said, this is all people's opinion, and I just thought it was funny that that made enough of an impact on more than one person that they'd actually put it in there. Number 3, Boulder, Colorado. Look at that, 2 cities making on this list from Colorado. Boulder sits about 30 minutes north of downtown Denver, so kind of like Colorado Springs, they're just far enough away. Boulder is another college town. They have the University of Colorado Boulder. Go Buffaloes. That's right there in town. I've spent a lot of time in Boulder, and I really like this city. Always have. It's been a few years, but it's always been a great city. So it only makes sense that a lot of people don't regret moving there. Since it is popular, it does have pretty high real estate prices. You can find some crazy expensive places like $3 million, $2.5 million, but they still have plenty of homes that you can get here for around $400,000 or $500,000 that are livable. But realistically, to get something really nice, or decent I should say, you're gonna be looking at around $700,000. But it's a really great city, and great cities are expensive. If you want a cheap house, you got to move to a city that sucks. You can move to Jackson, Mississippi and get a house for $35,000. Matter of fact, in Jackson, Mississippi, you could buy an entire block for what you'd pay for a 4-bedroom single-family home in Boulder, Colorado. But you better have life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, and some of those little arm floaties in case the Pearl River decides to put Jackson, Mississippi underwater again. But as far as Boulder, Colorado goes, the most common reason people gave for never regretting moving to Boulder, Colorado was things to do outdoors. Getting back to nature, all kinds of things like that. All had to do with nature. Number 2, San Diego, California. This one does not surprise me. Now, if you're living in the middle of the country or on the East Coast, you probably just think California, it's like a dog whistle, it's a horrible place to live and stuff like that. No, California, outside of the San Francisco Bay Area and parts of Los Angeles, is a pretty nice place to live. San Diego is a prime example. San Diego is a beautiful city. A coastal and expensive city, but it is beautiful. It is considered to have the best weather in the United States, and that's a big reason a lot of people move there. And that's also the biggest reason people say they will never regret moving to San Diego is the weather. I love San Diego. I used to go down there all the time when I lived in Southern California. I was like an hour and a half away. All right, before we get to number 1, a couple that almost made the list. Number 13 would have been Grand Rapids, Michigan. Number 12 would have been Santa Barbara, California. Number 11 was Charleston, South Carolina. If you're looking to move someplace else and looking for a realtor, there's a link for Home and Money down below. They'll help you find a realtor any place in the United States. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Huntsville, Alabama. That one is surprising. Huntsville is totally different from the rest of Alabama. It's almost like that northwest section of Arkansas. It's totally different from the rest of the state. Huntsville is one of the most moved to cities in the United States, and it is one of the most educated cities in the United States. A lot of that has to do with its nickname, Rocket City. Huntsville over the years played a big part in the U.S. space program and NASA and different missile systems and stuff like that. So a lot of very smart and educated people moved to Huntsville. It's just so far from the Alabama, stereotype. Blade of grass in your mouth while you tend the still. Huntsville's downtown has had a pretty good facelift in recent years. A ton of new construction downtown means they've got more condos, shopping, dining, coffee places, microbreweries, and a lot of nice apartments. When you look at the stats for Huntsville, you know why people are moving there. Their cost of living is low. They got plenty of things to do. Their crime rate isn't horrible. It's only 3% above the national average. That's nothing. They've got good unemployment numbers, they've got great schools, and their housing is reasonable. Just looking at Zillow and kind of checking out the numbers, you can get, livable homes for around $150,000. Decent homes start off around $300,000, and the really nice ones start off around $420,000. The people that said they don't regret moving to Huntsville, they said education, affordability, and a lot of people said Huntsville just grows on you. How cool is that? All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.